So what draft? We're live, by the way. Hello, everyone. It's Kit de Waal.
Hello, hello.
Kit de Waal. I mean, brilliant. Um, what draft? What draft do you send?
Oh, I send it when I believe, in my opinion,
Yeah,
my editor could send it straight to the printers.
yeah,
It's got to be that good, in my opinion, perfect, so
yeah,
that I have to feel it's the best thing that she's ever read. And
yeah,
unless I think that, I won't send it. I'll never send anything where I said, "Oh, what do you think?" or I think it needs some work. I would never ever send it. It's got to be brilliant, in my view. Obviously,
yeah,
it's not.
yeah,
I
yeah,
always
yeah,
get stuff to work on, always.
yeah,
Um, but I've got to think it's a work of genius.
yeah.
Yeah,
But how long did it take you to decide on? Have you always been like that, or was that a matter of
always, always
always?
be,
Okay,
always. I didn't know there was another way. So,
right.
first of all, when I first got published, I didn't know anyone worked on your work. I thought
Yeah,
there was a danger that if you sent something in, I mean, please God, they'd publish it. I didn't know people sent you notes. I'd never heard of that. I didn't know the editor's job was to work on it with you. So I thought, well, my God, this has got to be brilliant. And
yeah,
I was 56 when I first got published. I was not young, but I didn't know anything about the industry. I mean, nothing.
yeah,
Nothing. I didn't know what an editor was. I didn't
yeah,
know you needed an agent. I thought you wrote a book and you sent it to Penguin. That was it. And they published it. I
yeah,
thought
yeah,
that was the procedure.
yeah,
So when I first started, when I first got published, and obviously they loved My Name is Leon, and I didn't have to change barely anything.
yeah,
Um, But, my editor said to me, we haven't got much for you to do. And I thought, what are you talking about? What do you mean you've got nothing much for me to do? And she said, just a couple of things that we need to tidy up. And I just didn't know what she was talking about. And then eventually she said, could you do this? Well, there was not a Christmas scene in My Name is Leon. She said, I really want a Christmas scene. And that's when I realized that it wasn't perfect. I thought it was perfect.
but what are you like getting notes? Right from when you first got notes, what were you like? How did you handle it?
Oh, hooray, hooray, fucking hell.
Okay, okay,
Thank you, God.
okay, okay, yeah,
Something's missing.
yeah,
Find it
yeah,
for
okay,
me. Because I don't believe there's anything wrong with it.
yeah,
Um, and if somebody says to me, oh, did you realise, for example, do you realise it starts off in the summer and it ends up in the spring and you have not passed a year, then thank God you've noticed that before it goes to the readers. So I don't think I've disagreed with a few things, but very few,
okay,
really very few, very few.
okay. So you've got that combination of this is perfect, and that's why I'm sending it, and please tell me what's wrong with it.
Oh,
Kind
I
of
would
like you
not
wouldn't say
tell me
what's
what's
wrong with
wrong
it,
with
but
it. If I always think that they are pointing out something that it's there. So, for example, the novel I've just written, The Best of Everything,
yeah,
um, my editor said to me, why does she do X?
yeah,
And I thought, if you don't know that, I haven't put it in.
okay,
So it is perfect because some of it's in my head. Like
yeah,
as writers, what we do sometimes is we've read it so many times
yeah, yeah,
that you think you've told them it
yeah,
was, 1972. Nowhere have you said it was 1972.
yeah, yeah,
So it's something I haven't got right, but I believe I have when I send it. Oh,
yeah,
absolutely think it's, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. One of the things, maybe we'll start there. I've been swimming in a sea of de Waal, and it's been heaven. I'm just going to hold them up now so everyone can see. I started with your memoir, and I read that a couple of weeks ago. And then I moved on to your latest, The Best of Everything, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then I finished with the trip to
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
which I've got a lot of questions around as well. But as you brought up the best of everything, well, maybe we'll start there. I really felt when I was reading it, in a way, well, in comparison to Mona, who's our lead, isn't she? In obviously, I'm telling you this, the trick to time. I felt with Paulette, I was much more up close and personal with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was your? Can you tell me about your relationship with her as you were writing it?
She is many women that I grew up with. Um, Certainly many West Indian, Caribbean women, immigrant women, Irish women who I grew up with, who have learned not to have the big dream, have the modest dream, because you're probably not going to get the big dream. Don't try and be a brain surgeon. Don't go for the massive house on the hill. Don't try and be a school teacher, because you're coming into a country where you're probably going to be doing a menial job. You may not be wanted there. You're not going to live in the best area of town. And sometimes you get the stuffing knocked out of your dreams. And so you learn to temper your dreams. My dreams are going to be modest. I'm going to want, a nice guy, a house, probably a council house or a rented house, and a couple of kids, and just this job, this ordinary job. And I'll be happy with that. Of course, for many of the women, and certainly for Paulette in the book, that isn't her real dream. She wants to be a nurse, and
Yeah.
she wants to have a nice house, and she wants nice furniture. But you temper them down. And so I've met a lot of women through my childhood and early womanhood who have had that approach to life, like, just don't want it. If you don't want it, you can't be disappointed. And that is who Paulette is. And she's so, so familiar to me.
Mm. Yeah, they felt, and actually, I'd say this about Mona as well. The phrase that came to me about both of those women were that they were like reluctant heroes. They struck me as that because they are heroes, and
Yes.
the twists and turns that she takes. And this is a question actually I have, like a technical question. There were so many moments in both of them, but we'll say for now the best of everything when I thought, oh, okay, I can sort of see where, and it didn't go in that direction at all. It went
Yeah.
in another. Every time it took definitely a more difficult turn, much more complex, much more interesting, much more rooted in the real. It kept on rooting itself in the real. Every time there was an opportunity for trope, cliche,
Yeah.
anything. No.
Yeah.
And so was that. I know often as writers we'll be like, we think where we know where we're going, then the character's like, So was that, how was that experience? Who was making the decisions in all those moments?
So I'm a plotter.
Okay.
So I hadn't written a word before I knew all those twists and turns. I knew what was going to happen. I'm just going to put my glasses on.
Yeah.
Is that okay if I do that? You can't see the circles.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really am a plotter. So I know exactly what's going to happen. I know those twists and turns. They are led by character. They're also led by having respect for the reader. Readers are so savvy. They're so switched on. Good readers read a lot of books and they think, yeah, I know where this is going to go. If you have respect for your reader, you will respect their time, respect their 10.99, and you just say, no, I'm not, I'm going to give you something exciting and unexpected. I'm not going to fall into the cliche of, oh, she falls into his arms or whatever.
Or rescues him.
Or rescues him, or gets rescued.
Or
Because
gets rescued.
let's face it, how many people get rescued in this life? No one's coming to save you. Nobody. It's very often in your own hands, and sometimes you fail.
Yeah.
And my acute dislike of the fantasy genre and any science fiction, fantasy, anything that can't happen, I can't read it. I don't watch it. And so for me, this has to be true to life. It has to be true to the life I know anyway, and the life I've experienced. And so if it's going to be the happy ending, I'm just like, no. I'm not saying there isn't a happy ending. There are happy endings in life, and there's certainly not bad endings in my book, but it has to make sense. It has to have some integrity to the plot.
Were you and Paulette working together on that? Were there moments when she wanted to go left and you wanted to go right?
No, not really. I mean, more like I was sitting with her and she's going, you know what's going to happen, don't you? I go, oh, no, yeah.
Okay.
That the dialogue would have been between us that, you know what happens? And I go, oh, I know exactly what happens. It was definitely me walking beside her. I
Yeah.
wasn't leading her at any point.
Okay. Yeah, and I felt there was a very deft passing of the ball between her and Shirt and Tie around the feeling and empathy and compassion and rage and all the things for the reader. And it tossed back and forth between them constantly in this lovely, unexpected motion
Yes,
each time,
yes. And
which I,
Shirt and Tie for me
yeah,
is just a lovely character. I
yeah,
enjoyed writing him because I got to play with diction. He
yeah,
speaks so properly. He speaks like an English. He's an Englishman. He speaks like an Englishman, well-educated man, damaged man, but well-educated. And so because the book is written in the close third, most of it is written in really quite simple, very simple, pared back language with a very limited vocabulary.
yeah.
I get to Shirt and Tie and his long monologues, and I'm like, oh God, let's go. Let's have some
Okay.
poetry. Let's
Okay.
speak in proper sentences. It was great.
Yeah, yeah. I loved he drank his wine like a white man, which didn't know what it meant, but I knew what it meant as well.
Yes.
That was
And,
brilliant.
and and actually in the black community that anybody would understand that.
Right.
It held it,
Yeah.
that you would even say to another black person, you're holding your glass like a white man, and they'd know what
Right.
you meant. And
Yeah, yeah,
it may not be, it could be eating like a white man, sitting
yeah.
like a white man. It's just a phrase meaning don't try and be posh, don't try and be proper.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was really clever because I knew exactly what you meant, even though I didn't know what you meant. Really clever. And I loved as well, like he was is such a complex character, and you held that again. There was just this absolute zero cliche around that. There was so much going on. It was just held all the time. Just delicate. And the other thing I felt, and this is all the way through everything I've ever read of yours, but it really struck me. It kind of occurred to me finally in the Trick to Time was exactly your assumption of my capacity as a reader,
Yes. Yeah.
and it meant that there was no wasted words, there was
No.
no exposition. You didn't have you just like I know this person's going to keep up,
Yeah.
and now let's go.
Absolutely. And I think, I mean, I teach creative writing, and, I very rarely give a class where I don't say, have respect for the reader.
Yeah,
People are picking up your book. They've paid for it or they've borrowed it. They want to read it. They're coming to it with their intelligence, with their commitment to the story, with their desire to have a good time and to not have their time and money wasted. And so having respect for them means they are not coming, this is not their first rodeo. They've read other books. That if you put the work on the page, your reader's going to read it. So you don't need to say, it was really cold. She was freezing cold. The wind was, and the rain, and she had on a scarf and a jumper, and she felt quite chilly. And then she put the fire on.
no,
One of them will do.
yeah,
One of them. She walked out the house with her coat on. We know it's cold. You
yeah,
know, cut the shit. You don't
yeah,
need to say it 7 or 8 times. Having respect for the reader is that the reader's read the words on the page. The reader knows what it means to have a coat and scarf on. Leave it now. Let's get on with the story. And
yeah.
don't indulge yourself with 9 different ways of saying
Yeah.
it was cold.
Yeah, for the various reasons that writers do that, and that can be to prove it to themselves, to because you can't choose between the words because editing is
Totally.
one of yeah, all of
And
that stuff.
I'd say mostly when I see it, it's a lack of confidence.
Yeah,
It's that you don't have I got that over? Have I got it over to the readers? Do they really know it's cold? It's really important it's cold because she's going to slip on the ice. So I've got to make sure I say it. So it's normally a lack of confidence, um, as opposed to a lack of indulging yourself.
yeah,
And that's where um, the editing process comes in, because I mean editing's impossible. Editing is an impossible task. You are first of all, you're the creator of the words. So there are no surprises for you with the story. You know everything. Then you're the reader of the words, and you've got to be the virgin reader. I have no idea what this sentence is going to say at the end of it. So that's impossible. Two impossible things there.
Mm.
Then you're the editor. Well, I need to put that in there because she is going to slip on the ice. So let's give her some slippery shoes in page 1, whatever. Then you're the reader again. Then you're the creator again. And that might happen 7 or 8 times. So it is an impossibility. And that's where you get clean. I call it clean eyes. Give it to someone with clean eyes. Give it to someone who really doesn't know the end of the sentence. And if they tell you, I was really bored by how many times you told me she was cold, trust them. Take it out.
Mm. So is that what you do? And just going back to where we began, when you've written it's perfect for now, you've done absolutely everything. Are you giving it to your trusted beaters who are reading it and bringing it back to you quietly?
No, I send it to my agent.
Oh, you do. So at that moment, okay, got it.
And I might even skip. It depends on who my editor is and who my agent is. But I sometimes would skip the agent and just send it to the editor.
Yeah. Okay. And the skill of editing. So that's you get your notes back and you're there, and there you are editing again your own novel. The skill of that is that something that can be learned? You've got a gift for it. What's your?
You can learn it, absolutely, but you do have to be dedicated. You do have to take it seriously, and you have to take a triage approach. What I see very often is people will go in all guns blazing and page, up to the first 5,000 words. They're changing sentences, they're changing structure, they're changing words, commas, names, white on the page, paragraph, everything. And then you've run out of steam by the middle of the book. And so you get this over-edited beginning and lack of attention to the second act, particularly, and the third. And so what you have to do is take that triage approach. I'm going to go through the first draft and I'm going to sort out the big things. I'm going to sort out the protagonist. I'm going to sort out the antagonist. I'm going to sort out where we are in time and space. Just them things. Forget the sentences. Forget the 7 ways of being cold. Leave them for the moment. Just do the walls of the building, the structure of the building. And then you do the next thing. And the next thing might be language. It might be seeding. It might be a description of places. And then by the time you go through it for the last time, that's when you're fiddling with commas. Yeah. And do I really want his name to be Leon or should he be Darren? Do you know what I mean? Just nonsense, really, by the time on the last go through. Yeah. But very often you can get bogged down and it can feel, if you're editing 80,000 words, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah, I know. I've often felt when I'm in that kind of tricky 3/4 through, just material fatigue, when I'm at 7th, 8th draft, and it's just absolutely exhausting, and I can't see anymore. And
no, and you don't know, and also you stop reading because what happens by the time you've read it for 7 or 8 times, you know what that paragraph says. So I'm not going to read it. Oh, that's a good paragraph. I won't read it. Yeah. And you're skipping and you're skipping and you're skipping. And what you'll find is some of the errors of your work or some of the weaknesses in your work will be in those paragraphs that you think were so great, I didn't need to read them. Oh, we've all done it. We've all done it. Oh, that's such a great paragraph. I won't read it. Well,
yeah. Actually, that's probably the one. I have a rule. Actually, I have a rule. If I have that, I absolutely, because if I can't be bothered to, if I need to be, I read it all out loud, my work, before it goes, and I'll read it out loud 3 or 4 times before it goes anywhere. And if there's any bit of it where I'm getting bored at the 7th time of reading it through, then, it's an absolute red flag.
Exactly. Elmore Leonard said, cut the bits that people tend to skip.
Obviously, but you need to hear that.
But you need to hear it. And everything that you have written is not gold. Yeah. And sometimes it's gold in the wrong story. Take it out.
Yeah.
I've got a file on my computer called Scraps of Genius, I think it's called.
Yeah. Mine's called spare words.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it's brilliant stuff I cannot throw away. It might belong in another story. It might just be for my own, masturbatory purposes. But whatever it is, it's like I like it. I
Yeah.
like it. So I'm going to keep it. But this is not the book for it.
Yeah.
So it's very much um, attention to detail as far as editing goes, but also being able to stand back from your work and say, does is that character working? I've got three people here. Is it really one person?
Mm.
The big scaffolding type questions to
Yeah.
ask.
I've had an interesting experience with, because I had three novels. My debut came out, and then the next three we couldn't sell, so they just sat in a drawer. And then I'm about to serialize the third one actually, but two of them I've already serialized. So when I was editing for serialization, I had a much sharper pen editing for serialization. And then my agent said, and then both of those, one was published last year and one's been picked up and is coming out next year. And my agent said, look, next time you send me a book, can you edit it for serialization before you send it to me? Because, actually there's something about that very, like, it just gave me, I think it helped me stand back. It was something that
Yes,
I hadn't. And this is something I really, again, and I've learned such a lot from reading UKIP. And one of the things is that it's literary fiction. There's that depth and there's absolutely no cliche and it's moving, the rest of it. But it's really easy on the eye.
yes, yeah, it is.
It
Um,
is.
and
Which
and
is like,
I,
thank fuck.
yeah, it's not, I don't write poetry. I don't read poetry. I think I am a kind of poetic writer, but
Mm.
I had uh, someone I'm mentoring the other day, and I said, "What's your book about?" And so she said, "It's about this." And, she's sitting down. We've both got a cup of tea. It's going dark. She said, "It's about this woman." And she tells me this story. And I've got my tea like this, listening to the story. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then I said, "Look, send me 1,000 words. Where's that voice gone?" All of a
Right.
sudden, I'm getting this flowery nonsense and this trying to be Dickens style stuff. And I rang her and I said, "You told me a story with the words available to you. I
Yeah.
couldn't stop listening. You've gone away and tried to be William Thackeray, and it is not working.
Yeah.
The voice that you told me the story in is your voice.
Yeah.
Obviously, you'll put some extra words in. Obviously, the sentence structure might be a bit more delicate, but that's the voice. Tell me that
Yeah.
story. Don't
Yeah.
try and impress me with the Victorian sentence or the
Mm.
high literary style." Some people can do it, and it suits some people, and some people have that voice. Anyway, that is their voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
their the way they speak.
Yeah.
This was a beautiful, simple tale that needed beautiful, simple language.
Right. And what I know, because I do that, I'm in that world. I'm a writer. When I read your work, it's a beautiful, simple tale using beautiful, simple language, but it is built out of a very clear understanding of craft. And so it does
Yeah,
all, and that it shone through because that, yeah, that ability to move and tell the story and use simple language and all of that stuff, but it had all those elements that I could just see.
yes,
You really know what you're doing. Like,
yeah, yeah. And I do massively have respect for the craft. I think it's a little bit like Picasso drew a woman with a square head with her eye down there and a lip there because he knew that he can paint a landscape like Turner.
yeah,
He knew all the styles, and he chose this particular style. But
yeah,
that's not because he really thought women have an
no,
eye on your cheek. It's because that's how he's interpreting his world. And for me, to have a voice and to know your voice, you have to know the styles, you have
mm,
to know the craft, you have to know that if you're not using a long word here, it's not because you don't know the long word, or you don't know
mm,
that there's another sentence structure, or you don't know how to do another way of doing a flashback. I know
Mm.
the other ways, and I choose this style and I choose this way. Um, and that is because well, I've worked hard on the craft,
Yeah.
and also I have massive respect for the craft. I mean, my own tastes very often in reading is flowery.
Right. Is it?
Sebastian Barry, I don't know if you know him, he's an Irish
Yeah.
writer,
Yeah.
and he's pretty flowery, pretty purple in some respects. And I'm like, oh, I love it.
Oh,
This is the
okay.
master. This is the
Yeah.
master. I
Yeah.
love it. And I also enjoy, the very simple tale where you're in the hands of the master. Donal Ryan's the master I would speak of in that way, where he wrote a book called The Thing About December, and it's written from the point of view of a man, a very simple young man of about 20. I mean, it's nearly the cat sat on the mat in terms of
Right.
language.
Wow.
Oh my God, it's a work of genius.
Okay.
And he's chosen the cat sat on the mat because
Yeah.
it suits the voice of the young man with learning
Yeah.
difficulties. It's not because he can't write in other ways, as we've seen in his other works. Um, and they're the people I like to emulate, those people that have 17 different ways of writing this book. And I've decided to write it this way.
And for the reader, there's a real confidence. Like I felt very relaxed reading you
Thank you.
because I knew you knew what you were doing. So I could just relax. It really reminded me, there were moments, and actually this was to do with the pacing through time of The Best of Everything. It really reminded me of Nora Webster.
Yes.
And that because there's a moment, and if I ever meet Colin Tabin, I'm going to embarrass myself and him, but I want to say to him, there's a line in that, which is, I think it's her sister says to her at some point in the novel, "It's been 3 years, Nora." That's it. That's just the sentence.
Yeah.
And it completely, boom, boom, it blows this because you're like, oh my God, it's been 3 years. Like I hadn't, because she hasn't noticed and I hadn't noticed. And
So
to me,
clever.
it's so clever, and it's exactly that. Like you couldn't get a more simple sentence than that, and it just
No.
blows the entire thing.
Yeah.
Fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
And it really reminded me that pacing. Like I was, and there was a moment in The Best of Everything. I was like, my God, the movement we're experiencing through this.
Yes.
But again, like just assumed capacity, very simple, moving forward, no wasted words. We are traveling.
Yes. And also, again, this is trusting the reader. The reader gathers when you put things at that pace that nothing really has happened. That, if I haven't said nothing's happened, it's
Yeah.
because life has ticked over.
Yeah.
And you can get a lot of mileage from saying he starts coming every week until Christmas. One sentence, and
It's fine.
we've dealt with 9 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of saying, and then the winter came, and then,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you can just say it.
Yeah.
And also, for a lot of writers, I always say, use the white of the page.
Mm.
Use a double space to say, we're moving on slightly.
Yep.
It's 2 weeks later.
That's
Don't have to have a chapter. You
yep.
don't have to say it's 2 weeks later. You
Mhm.
can just use the white on the page to denote space and time and movement within the story.
And it's fine because I know you're in charge. I've put myself
Yes.
in your hands because I've opened your book.
Yes.
So if you tell me that we've moved on, we've moved on.
Yes.
And there's nothing to see here. Love that. Great. Can we just, before we leave Paulette, her relationship with alcohol, the way you handled that really interested me as well, particularly because you didn't make a song and dance about it. Can you just talk to me about that as you were writing it? Because we're watching her. She's going
No.
right down in there. I was like, whoa, okay, I'm looking over the precipice with her.
No.
And well, we won't say, I mean, actually, no, I will say, because that's not really the story.
No. No.
She swings back out of it again. That's the thing. So I don't know, is there something, can you talk to me a little bit about that and your
Yeah.
handling of it?
What I wanted to do is just show really as really prevalent in my I mean, alcoholism is prevalent in my family. However, there's lots of people that just drink a lot. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
right. Yeah,
I don't know. Are they alcoholics? Who knows?
yeah,
Alcohol problem. Certainly, it become her drinking becomes a problem for her. She becomes more dependent on it, but she can stop, and she does stop whenever she
and she
wants.
does.
But for many people, especially when you've lost stuff, especially when you're down and you're on your own, you're just like, why the fuck wouldn't I have another drink? I'm going
Right.
to get, it'll help me sleep. I'll go to
Yep.
sleep. I'll feel all right. I can indulge myself. No one's here. No, it's not alcoholism. But what it
Yeah.
is alcohol being a very unreliable friend. I mean, a reliable friend, but a dangerous friend. And it is for her. And I see this, I mean, it's one of the, thank God, problems I don't have. I have many others. That is not one, and never was one.
Right.
But I have certainly seen and do have many friends for whom the evening starts with a glass of wine and there is no going back. And it's every single night. And I think that's the way for a lot of people. Have they got a drink problem? Not my business, not my part
Mhm.
to say. But are you dependent on it to have a good evening? Are you
Mm.
dependent on it to have a good night out? Are you dependent on it for not feeling lonely at night? For many people, that would be food as well.
Yep.
For Paulette, it's rum. It's
Yep.
just, that
Okay.
little thing that just knocks the corners off the
Mm.
sharp edges of the world.
Mm. And I think that's one of the reasons why I felt so grateful and relieved to be reading a character who was passing through that and then coming, or her whole relationship with it, because I could definitely relate to that. I absolutely drank every night. There was a period of time. I mean, I was a junkie for a long time, and then I left that, and then I drank for a long time. And that was when my kids were little. And it was very organized. They'd go off for tech time, but at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I would have a spliff and a glass. So I'd have half a bottle of wine and three spliffs every afternoon.
Yeah,
Single mum, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Twins. And the fact was, and then I'm sober now. I've been sober for 5 years. So, but the fact is that I know it was doing me a huge favor because I
yeah,
did not have the resources to do what I needed to do and to face the stuff that I did to have to come out eventually. I didn't have the resources for it at the time. So actually, I was doing the wise thing, doing
yeah,
what I did.
yeah,
And that's what I really recognized in Paulette. She was
yeah.
like, this is what I've got, this is what I need to handle, and this is what I'm going to do.
Absolutely.
And that was,
And it will get me through the shit.
yeah,
I'm in the shit. I feel shit about myself. I haven't got any friends. I'm lonely, whatever, I'm heartbroken. I'm just gonna knock me out. Just
yeah,
knock me out. And then I'll
yeah,
get up and I'll go to work and I'll do my stuff and I'll do it well. But for the evenings that are unbearable, that's what I'm gonna have and that's what I'm gonna lean on. And she knows exactly where, I mean, she calls Appleton's rum is a very well-known Jamaican brand of rum, West Indian
right.
brand of rum. And she calls it Mr. Appleton.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah,
mate. He
yeah,
comes
yeah,
round every evening, never lets me down. We
yeah,
have a good time. I go to bed.
yeah.
Mr. Appleton is great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So thank you for handling that. So, like again, in a way, weirdly, it reminded me of Schitt's Creek. I remember reading interviews, and he said, "Look, because everyone was like, actually, this is the first depiction of a relationship between two gay men that is not the story. It's
Yes,
not the fucking
yes.
story.
No,
My
absolutely.
drinking was not the story." And I was like, "Oh, it's like
Yeah.
fuck."
It's not, oh, she's going to be an alcoholic now. She's going to
Yeah.
have to go to
Oh, now I've got
rehab.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, she'll get into a fight. No, she's just getting through the day.
Yeah. Love that. Um, Trick to time. So I'm just got questions about this. Um, it's brilliant. Everyone, they're all brilliant. They're all brilliant. Everyone, read them. Fuck's sake. Um, Structurally, actually, for the first thing, for both of them, present tense. Did you know, I was halfway through the best of everything before I even realised, and I
Yeah.
have to say as well, good lord, because I've often noticed with emerging writers that they'll choose present tense thinking that it's the easier tense, and it really
No,
isn't.
no,
I can't do it. I can't
no,
do it.
no.
It's
Because
hard.
you have to stay in the moment. That means you can't say
You
what
are
she later discovered
no,
or
you are
or
upright.
exactly. You're there. You're living it with the person. She is doing that. She's eating. Not she ate and she didn't feel well later. She's eating. If she's not going to
Yeah.
feel later, we haven't got there. So
Yeah.
it can be very tricky, especially in flashback.
Yeah.
So when you're doing a flashback, and I do a lot of my flashbacks in the present
I
tense,
know.
and it's like, whoa. Sometimes
Yeah.
you're like,
Oh,
yeah, it's
yeah.
technically I mean, it's a challenge. I love it, but it is a
Yeah.
challenge.
Have you always, because I can't remember, I read Leon so long ago when it came out. I can't remember. Is Leon in present?
Yeah, yeah.
So is,
Presence in the close third.
okay. So that's your natural, when you begin a new piece of work, and you always immediately in present. That's just where you naturally sit,
Um,
even though you know it's a challenge.
yes, mostly. Short stories I don't always, and nor flash fiction. They're not always in the present tense,
Okay.
but the others are. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I just feel for me that's like a bridge too far. I just, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Um, so the trick to time, also in present tense, but structurally, and I know you've spoken a lot about the structure because it is fascinating and really deft. You pull it off. Um, did you write each timeline separately and put them together? How did you do it?
I wrote them all as one to
Yeah,
begin with. Then I extracted the timelines out
yeah,
and just thought, does this work as a story on its own?
on
Forget
its own.
whatever else happened. Does this work as a story? Has it got
Yeah,
three acts? Has it got a
yeah,
protagonist? Has it got a timeline? So I
yeah,
did that with the three of them. And
yeah.
then I can honestly say the sewing together was the work of a lifetime. That,
Oh, I'm
what do
sweating
you
already.
what do you know now? What do you need to
Oh,
know now so that that doesn't seem false? Right, you need to know that. And so
mm,
you're doing this tapestry, the most intricate tapestry. And what I did was I've got a big sort of kitchen island and I had blue cards for one timeline, yellow and
mm,
pink. And I would just move them and I'd realize, oh, there's so much yellow there and there's no pink. So then I had to realize we'd stayed in one time place too long. And so then you have to introduce something. And it was really difficult.
yeah,
But when it's right, you know,
yeah,
it
yeah.
sings.
Okay. And sorry, my son has just tried to ring, so he's completely. I did tell him I'm live with Kit de Waal, but he never listens. Oh, he does listen. He's just has amazing timing. Um, so my brain has gone completely.
We were talking
Um,
about structure and
thank you.
timelines and
Okay.
timelines.
Okay. Okay, that's what it was. So I noticed you posted the other day, you quoted somebody talking about, was it you talking about the crucible?
Yeah,
Yes. So because I noticed, so one of the tricks, so I knew which one we were in, that you had certain aspects. So I always
yes,
knew within the first sentence
yeah,
of each timeline which time we were in.
yes, yeah. And that's because there's three crucibles. A timeline can work as a crucible. So you can
Yes.
say a week, this is all going to happen over a week. That becomes
Mm,
the crucible.
right.
So you want to anchor the reader again, have respect for the reader, anchor the reader in the crucible. So they're not reading two paragraphs in before they go, oh, I'm in the
We're,
past. Oh, right. I've got to go back and read it now.
yeah.
So give them something, either a physical thing that she's got short hair, say, oh, well, if she's
Yeah.
got short hair, I know I'm in the present. Or she isn't married yet. I know I'm in. So make sure you just get one thing, one sentence in right at the beginning, and we know where we are. Then you're off. You can do what you like.
So when you were thinking, when you first had the idea for the trick to time, did you know, you basically thought, okay, it's going to be structured like this, it's going to have these three. Did you know all of that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So even in the beginning, in the very early drafts, you were thinking about those movements and
yes,
how to do it.
yes. Well,
Mm.
I plotted it on a spreadsheet uh,
Okay.
before I ever wrote anything, so I knew that I would have this dance to do at the end.
Yeah.
You always write too much,
Yeah.
so I was thinking, do I really need to? Do I need this paragraph? Do I need this chapter? And so there was a lot of cutting. I had to have the general rule is if you are writing too much flashback, it's because that's where the story starts.
Yeah.
Stop it,
Mhm.
start there. Because
Yeah.
if you keep having to go back to the past, that's where your story starts. Start your story there.
That's the
So
beating.
I
Yeah.
had to make sure that the present narrative could work without any of the past. It's better knowing the past, but the present day narrative had to be an entire held together 3 act, two protagonists, protagonist antagonist story in the classic
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah.
And to work, it had
Yeah.
to be viable. And then so did the other two timelines.
Mm. Scene, and again, her relationship with Carl. So,
God, I,
oh, that scene when she turns up,
I know. You could die, couldn't you? You
you could
could
die.
just die for her.
It was.
It's so,
It's.
as I was writing it, I was like, oh, you
Oh, but you
die.
didn't stint. You didn't look away.
No, you can't look away because
Oh,
it's truth. You've got to
yeah,
look
yeah,
at truth, and it's got to be. Oh, can I read this? Yes, you can. You
yeah,
can read it. If
yeah,
if it's not painful for the reader, you haven't done the work. Because if
yeah,
it's painful for the protagonist, you're with the protagonist. If she's having a shit day, you should think, "Oh God, I'm not surprised she's having a shit day." So if she's dying of embarrassment, then it should be like, "Oh, I don't know if I can read it." Die of
yeah.
embarrassment with her.
Yeah. I mean, it was appealing back, like, oh, fuck. It was fantastic. And well, the choices, but then it sounds, the more I'm hearing you and understanding, I don't know if choices is the right word, but the choices that were made within that, for that to be, and that again, it could have gone in so many different ways. And that was just like, oh, yes. And I didn't, oh my God. And I'm not going to give away for everybody watching the reveal. It's so very near the end because that's really crucial. But I didn't see it coming.
No, good.
And
I'm
I, and
glad.
I, I didn't. And I had to go back and reread the scenes where the
Yeah,
clues and dropped or not dropped.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I had to go back.
yeah.
Um, yeah, okay. I wish I could say more about it, but I can't.
No, no,
So and it made me cry, and I think I just made a note. I wrote a note about that because really, I cannot remember the lot. I'm not a crier in novels. When people are going, oh, I was sobbing. I don't sob.
no.
I don't. I there was a moment in the hospital, and all the whole the weight. I think so. For those, and I will say this for those listening, watching now, and the recording, there's a there's an element around which this book travels, which is about the loss of about stillbirth or the loss of children at a very, very young age, and she develops this therapy
Yeah,
for holding the weight of the child in wood.
yeah,
I understand that's it sort of jarred me. I read somewhere that said, well, like Kit de Waal just made that up. And I was like, well, of course she did. It's a novel. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
Actually did. Yeah.
but you actually did.
Yes.
Yeah. And were you contacted later by anyone working in that
Yeah.
OPA?
I
Were
was
you?
contacted by an anthropologist who worked, I think it might have been in Australasia or somewhere, I can't remember. And he said there is a tribe in, let's say, Africa or Philippines. I can't remember. I should remember. And they do that. They do that for a woman that's lost a baby. And obviously it won't be wood, but it would be something of weight
Of weight.
that they give to the woman for her to spend some time with to help to get over the loss of the child. And then there was someone that contacted me that said there is a charity, and I think it might be in the UK, and they will give you um, it's like a bean bag, and it's just a bean bag. It's not of the weight. Again, it's not of the weight, but it's something to hold that
Mm.
says you have, it's something of weight. Not
Yeah.
not as with Mona, it's the
Yeah.
exact weight of the
The
baby.
exact way, because that was what really struck. Sorry,
Yes.
I interrupted you, but
No.
that was what really struck me was there's a line, I think, I don't know who says it, but there's a line that says, you know, you forget all kinds of things, but your body remembers the weight.
Yes. Yeah. And
And
then the weight's gone. And
then the
so,
weight's gone.
and what this is about Mona's therapy, which again, yes, I did make up, is that she gets a carpenter to make this weight. My baby was born 7 ounces, 7 pounds, 3 ounces. So the carpenter makes something and it's just a bean shaped thing. And the woman brings a shawl or a blanket. She doesn't have to have anything, but Mona will wrap the piece of wood in the shawl and give it to the woman and talk to the woman about all the things that you imagine when you're pregnant. Oh, I'm going to that, and I'll be this kind of mom, and I wonder if it'll look like my dad, and oh, I'll paint the room pink. You don't know you're making these plans. Sometimes you make them very obviously, but your body is preparing you. Your mind, heart, spirit is preparing you for motherhood, which is abruptly taken away. And
Mm,
there's the end of your dreams. They've
mm,
gone. And
mm.
so what Mona does in this therapy she's made up because someone did it for her, is she says, so what did you do when she was 5? And she go, well, she's dead. Well, what did you do when she was 5? What would you have done? Oh, well, we would have. And then through this questioning, so we go 5, 7, 9, 10 years old, 15. Through this questioning, Mona moves from what would you have done to what did you do?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
live the life that was
Yeah.
taken away from you through this talking therapy. She moves from what would you have done to, oh, you sent her to that school because that's a really academic school. Is your child going to be academic then? Yeah. Oh, well, my dad's really clever. Your dad's clever. So she's clever. And you've called her Abigail. And then you move through this journey, a lifetime's journey over a couple of hours with
Mm,
Mona prompting and teasing it out until the woman and the man, if necessary, has lived the life that was
yeah.
taken away. And it's not healing by any means, but it's the beginning of healing.
And it was that tense change that, sorry, my son keeps ringing. Good Lord. Sorry. It was that tense change that was so significant to me. And
Yes,
I watched it happen, and I watched that conversation she has between the two women, getting them with, again, you know, she's doing exactly what you're doing as a writer. She doesn't give exposition. She doesn't explain.
no,
She just keeps bringing them into this thing. And it was just so, it was effective technically. It was effective as actually in the story. It was a beautiful thing that actually in the, here we are, I can imagine being of real worth. It's the only time, I think, is that right, where we do go into past tense, is in that
yes,
moment when she's having those conversations. And then
yes,
there is their life, because actually what life is, in a sense, all our imaginations. That's,
yes,
there it is. And if you imagine it and say it happened to an
it
extent,
happened.
your
Yeah,
body, it happened, and your body goes, oh, yes, I remember.
yeah, I had that. I've
I've had
lived
that.
that life. Yeah, she did grow up and she left
Yeah,
home and got married.
yeah,
And
yeah,
isn't it great?
yeah. I could feel my cells responding to it as
Yes,
I was reading it, as the woman and Mona, and you know. So my mother, she gave birth to a daughter, Lucy, in 1964. And Lucy's, I only know this from my dad. He said her insides weren't right. That was all I knew. So she was whisked out of my mother's hands and taken to a children's hospital in the East End of London and died on the operating table. And then her body was put in the incinerator in the basement.
yeah,
And I know that because I went and found the hospital, which was derelict. And I happened to turn up when a load of architecture students were going in with their hard hats. So I just pretended to be one of them. And I went in, and honestly, it was like, what was that ship that was like the Mary Celeste? Is that what it was called? It was like
yes, yeah,
everything was left as is. So then I peeled away from these students and went upstairs and found the operating theatre, and there were literally scalpels left on the lights and everything. And then I went down to the basement and I found the incinerator.
all right, wow. I
Yeah.
mean,
So,
it was, this is obviously 1974 when it happens to Mona, but it's absolutely what happened. And
Yeah.
the authorities and the medical establishment, they weren't doing it to be cruel. They thought,
No.
this is the best thing for the mom. Take the dead baby away, say to her, it's dead, you don't want to see it,
Yeah.
go on, go and have another one. And that's what they believed. And of course, we're more enlightened now. We know that that's not how we deal with trauma. You don't say it never happened. You say it
No.
happened.
Mm.
And I read an article about this couple who had gone to such great lengths to find their daughter, and they find her in a coffin with a tramp. And that's
Mm.
what happened to these dead babies. They were buried with, plot number 749 will be Joe Bloggs and baby so and so. And that's what happened to them. Or they were put in the incinerator. And that's really where I got some of the scenes for the book from. I did a lot of research into stillbirths. And my cousin was a junior nurse on a ward where there was a stillbirth, and the scene in the book where this junior nurse, apprentice nurse, goes and gets a little white flower off a vase and she puts it in the hand, the little fist of the dead baby, and gives the dead baby back to them. And she got into terrible trouble for doing,
Mm.
because this is the 70s. And when Beverly, my cousin, told me that, God, what a thing to do, what a beautiful thing to
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
And this girl, Beverly would have been 17 at the time she did that.
And understood.
And understood. She's
Yeah.
got no kids, she's never been pregnant, but she understood that I'm going to give this woman her dead baby against all the rules, and I'm going to
Mm.
put a little white flower in its
Mm.
fist. I mean, it's beautiful.
Mm. I have a friend who works. Well, she's now on contract, but she did work in the NHS for a very long time in a emergency in ED trauma, and she told me that whenever they have to, whenever a mother gives birth to a still child or stillborn child, or the child dies, and exactly this, they'd be told just to sort of take them away, and she would always wrap them and hold them and talk to them and go
Yes,
downstairs and go through this whole process and even make sure, and I hope this is all right for anybody listening, but I'll say this, she would even make sure that they weren't put alone, but she'd find
yes,
somebody who else had recently deceased who she knew, and she would talk to that deceased person and say, this has happened, this, please, can you take care? And and it was completely against protocol. It was completely not what
yes.
she was supposed to be doing, but she was like, I am not,
No,
you know.
it's, those babies, whatever you think about, life or death or the hereafter, those babies are the carrier of someone's dreams. They represent a lifetime of hoping and dreaming and wishes and love that somebody had to give, that parents have to give, grandparents, brothers and sisters have to give. They're all wrapped up in this beautiful being that can no longer receive them. And it's out of respect for the living and the dead that I think, move on, move into a better way of understanding the relationship between the living and the dead.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, after I'd done this, I told my mum that I'd been there, and I started talking to her about it, and she began to talk, and I know she was given exactly that advice: move on, have another child, which she did. She went on to have another four of us, and I'm the youngest. But I know she never got over it, and eventually, I had a plaque made, and I bought a tree, and she died in May, so just about, I don't know, probably 6 months before she died, because there was no grave at all. We had a plaque made, and I remember the moment giving her the plaque and going, and by then she couldn't walk, so she couldn't come and see where we were going to put it. But in that moment, just being whatever capacity she had to show her feelings, and she didn't have much capacity. She was 95 when she died, so she was absolutely of that generation. She just and had been through that. Whatever capacity she had to show, I could see,
Yes.
the enormity. And I think So reading it, I got inside, I got closer, I got inside, I got to sit with her in that moment when
Yes.
Lucy died, when Lucy was taken out of her arms. I got to sit with her as I sat with Mona.
Yes.
And it was really powerful. So thank you
Oh, thank you. Thank
very
you.
much for that. We're nearly out of time, incredibly, and I haven't got to this.
Yes.
We'll just do a little bit because
Yeah.
I'm only going to take an hour of your time. This is your memoir. It's
Yes.
also absolutely brilliant. My question is, how long was it bubbling inside you before you thought, right, fuck this shit, I'm writing a memoir?
Oh, I'd say about a week.
Oh,
So I was asked to write it
okay.
by an editor, and I just went, "Oh my God, I am so boring. I would never." I like gardening. I like Coronation Street. I like tea and biscuits.
Right.
I'm so boring. I can't tell you. And she said, "No, no, no. You're really interesting. You're really interesting." I was like, "I'm not." And then anyway, when enough flattery and
Yeah.
money had been discussed, I thought, God, you know what? I'm really
Okay.
interested after
Okay,
all.
I'm going to
And
turns out.
and what I did know is that my early life was interesting. It isn't
Yes.
that. It genuinely isn't that. Um, but it was bizarre,
Yes.
my childhood. And I thought if I
Yes.
stop at around 22, when
Yeah.
I became boring,
Yeah.
I think I can put
Yeah.
it together.
Yeah.
And so what I did is just made a long list of scenes. Oh God, remember when I bit my tongue off? Oh,
Yeah.
remember when Mom smashed the milk bottles? Oh,
Yeah.
remember. And so I just made a list and I wrote them. There's no narrative that's like, oh, then. It's like scene, 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 scene. It makes a story the way that
Yeah.
a life a life in scenes makes a story, and it makes a narrative of its own. But
Yeah.
I never wrote it to be a narrative.
Okay.
I nearly called it Scenes from My Life because it's just
Okay.
scenes.
Yeah. I did. And where's the title come from, Without Warning? And
It's a
I know sometimes.
sentence. It's a sentence in the book
Is it?
where
Okay, I'm just going to go back and find it.
I am describing the unpredictability of our life. So, without warning, you're going to get some dinner. And you're,
Okay.
oh my God, we're going to eat today because we didn't eat.
Okay. Yeah.
And then it wouldn't happen next Wednesday. So it was without warning, you're going to get dinner, but only sometimes. So it was the double whammy of you'd get it when you weren't ready or you couldn't rely on it because it was only going to happen sometimes. That was for the good because we had great times
Yeah.
without warning and only sometimes, and we had shit times,
Yeah.
and we had everything in between. And in my household, you could not rely on one single thing. Not my mother's moods, not my father's moods, not eating, not wearing clothes, not heat, not light, not good times, nothing. Nothing.
Mm.
And that's where it came from, just that absolute unpredictability.
So do you crave stability? What's your
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I
okay.
yeah.
What
I
are the
iron my
things?
I iron my knickers. I'm one of those.
Okay.
I've gone
Okay,
full
got it.
circle.
Okay.
So we never had knickers very often. So I am terrible. My cupboards look nice. Even the
Yes.
cupboards that are never used properly. I
Yes.
iron quilt covers. I iron knickers. I love stability. I like pantry full of jam with labels on it. That's me now.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
love it.
Okay.
My brothers and sisters, not so much. They're much more bohemian than I am. Um, I do like, Marks and Spencer's ready meals and stuff.
Okay. Whereas they can take a bit of unpredictability.
Yeah,
They can have a bit more. Okay. Are
yeah.
you the youngest? Are you the
No,
youngest? No.
second eldest.
Okay. And did you, as the way of memoirist, what were your decisions around whose story you're telling and asking permission or not asking permission or all of that sort of business?
So I told them that I was going to write it. My brothers and sisters, this is
Yeah,
five of
yeah,
us. I told
yeah,
them I was going to write it.
yeah,
I got their permission.
yeah.
When I had written it, I then gave it to them before anyone else saw it. And I told them that they had the power of veto over anything that I said.
Wow.
Any sentence, any chapter, any paragraph, anything that I had said, anything. And I said
Wow.
they didn't have to justify it. You don't have to say, well, I don't think Dad said that. Just say to me, page 47, line 8, I want it out. And it came out. No negotiation, nothing. We have a difficult life. And
Yeah.
whilst I am very open about it, I get paid to be open about it. I get paid to write. They don't get paid,
Yeah.
and this is their private shit.
Yes, yes.
So I had to make sure that when it was out there and their friends are going to read it, their kids are going to read it, their you know partner's going to read it. I had to make sure they were really okay with what I had said about our parents and our childhood. Um, so I sent them it on the Friday. I said they had the weekend to tell me what they wanted to take out. Um, and in the end, one sister wanted two words out of the whole book, and five of us, four of them, um, they just went, "Yep." I mean, they did ring me and say things like, "Hang on, what about the time I got run over?" And I said, "Do you know what though? It's my story.
Yeah.
So you getting run over is
You
not in my
yeah,
memoir."
yeah.
So, I mean, we laughed about it so much, but that was the only thing, 2 words out
That's
of
amazing.
80,000. Yeah.
I mean, that speaks volumes of your relationship. I have to say, there is no way. I mean, another time, I'll tell you what happened with my memoir. Not like that.
No, and I have heard, I didn't know that was unusual, but
Very unusual.
I've gone to literary festivals and said that, and then people have come up to me and just said, I want to write it and I can't because I can't get any
Mm.
agreement. I think, one sister said to me, it's a bit Disney, it's a bit too nice, but it's not untrue. So obviously there's, I could have, what she's saying is I could have been harsher on my parents, which I
Yeah.
could have, but I forgave them years ago.
Mm.
You start seeing them as people, and
Mm.
um, yeah, they still will ring me up and say, "I've just read that bit again where Mom did this," and we're laughing about it. So I'm very lucky. I'm
Mm.
very lucky to have their blessing and to have they go ahead. I wouldn't have done it without them. So I think I'm very, very fortunate to have such understanding siblings.
Amazing, because it does become the record. It becomes
Yes.
the
Oh, it
story.
does. Yeah. It becomes fact,
It becomes
you know.
fact.
And so their friends think that is what happened. Well, no, that's what I say happened.
Exactly.
You know, my sister was elsewhere when that was happening, doing something else. She had a different life. We all had different lives. This is my relationship with my parents, not our relationship with my parents and with them. So, but they understood that completely, and they understood that I was telling my world, my version. Um, I've got loads of. I come from a big Irish family, so I've got loads of cousins who loved their grandmother. She
Mm.
was lovely to them. They were white
Yeah.
for a start.
Yeah.
So she was lovely to them. And so for the first time in their lives, they're reading about this very unpleasant grandmother, which is how I experienced her. And I didn't ask their permission because
No.
I don't, first of all, don't care. And
Yeah.
secondly, that's the truth.
Yeah.
That is the truth of my relationship. But I can't pretend it wouldn't be difficult for them to read that.
Mm.
Maybe it would be very difficult for them to read about their unpleasant grandmother that loved them, was lovely to them.
Mm.
And you have to allow them space for their opinion and space for their own memories.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I learned was that I'd lived with the story I was telling, and it happened with my debut as well. I've lived with it for all the years I was telling it, whereas my family, it was completely new. So it took them
No.
about a year to be like, get over all of
Yes.
shit,
Yes.
which was
Yeah.
it was a big lesson. Um,
Yes.
yeah, and also you chose who to ask permission of and who not to ask permission of, and that's
Absolutely. And I didn't go beyond my brothers and sisters.
yeah,
A, because they were in the house.
Yeah.
They weren't in the house with us, and the face that we presented to the world was a good face. Everything was great. We had
Yeah.
it beaten. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So no one else could comment. I only
Yeah.
cared about their opinion. I didn't care about my cousins or neighbours or my mom's brothers and sisters. Get over it. But my brothers and sisters massively cared. I would never, ever have written it without their permission. Never.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. That's a clear line.
Yeah.
Kit, we've gone slightly over, so I'm not going to take any more of your time up. It's been absolutely amazing. I'm just going to hold the books up again for everybody else. So, Kit's memoir, Without Warning and Only Sometimes, absolutely fantastic. Buy it immediately. The Trick to Time, which, how long ago did you write this, Kit? 2 years ago?
For 7 years.
Yeah. If you study it, I know Andrew Willey uses this in class to teach his students about moving through time and time structures. Study it, everyone. It's genius. And then Kit's latest, The Best of Everything, which is also an absolute masterclass in just writing like incredibly fucking well. That's really easy or easy. I want to say easy to read, which sounds like, but that's really, really hard to do. And that's what you've done there. It's fantastic. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I will see you in the stacks.
Yes, definitely.
Okay,
Thank you,
amazing.
everybody, for coming.
Thanks everyone for coming. The recording will go out immediately. All right.
Right. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.